This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
It is the After Party Live, and thank you everyone for being here. I see that I have this little, there we go. Sorry, oh, you can see the overhang still. Oh man, how did that come up all of a sudden? Maybe it's been here all morning long and I just now noticed. I don't know. Thank you for hanging out on the After Party Live. Please click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please do that as well. I have a few new subscribers yesterday, so I'm really excited. Working my way up to 2,000. Great Mark Thompson show. I have to say I'm a little relieved that Mark is coming back tomorrow. So he is right now traveling, and he will be back in the captain's chair on the Mark Thompson show. So that's the good news. Nikki Maduro's show tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We'll be back at it. We have been recording things late in the evening. Today, actually, right after this show, we'll be recording as well. So please join me tomorrow at 10 o'clock for the Nikki Maduro show, followed by Mark Thompson at 11. And then you've made your way here to the after party. So I thank you for doing it. I know it's not Travel Tuesday, but there's one thing that I wanted to share with you because I saw it in SF Gate and I thought the picture is too pretty not to bring to you today. Look at that. How beautiful. This is a waterfall in Yosemite National Park. They say, according to this article in SF Gate, it's a rare waterfall taller than the Empire State Building, and it is raging at Yosemite. It's Ribbon Fall, the longest single drop waterfall in the contiguous United States. So apparently pretty incredible to see. It's they call it a secret waterfall. Spectacular, in full force. One of the lead naturalists at Yosemite Conservancy was talking to SF Gate and said, I was just out walking around the park. People were asking, what is that? Is that thunder? Sounds like it's crashing down. That's the sound of the waterfall of Ribbon Falls. 2,400-foot falls. It ran last season year-round, but they're not expecting that to happen this year because we haven't had as much rain as we did last year. The winter record in the Sierra Nevada snow helped keep it from going dry. That only happened once before in the previous decade. But it doesn't quite pack the punch, apparently, that it did a year ago at this time because of all the rain. It was crazy. But it's still going strong. And so, yeah, there it is. Ribbon Falls, apparently a sight to see. The intense snowmelt and late season thunderstorms led to several really rare waterfalls in Yosemite last season. Some apparently surprised park officials that they didn't even have names for them all. They just kind of were sprouting up. So that's kind of exciting. This year, we're not setting any records, but there's still amazing sights like this, Ribbon Falls, to see. That's pretty cool. I didn't realize that we had a record, basically, right? That we had they say the longest single drop waterfall in the contiguous United States. So I just wanted to share that with you because I thought the picture was really cool. And the story too. There is a rare animal that's making a comeback. You can kind of see him there in the picture through the gate. He's called the Devil's Hole pupfish. I almost said pufferfish. It's a pupfish, P-U-P. The Devil's Hole pupfish. Very rare. One of the rarest animals on Earth. Making a comeback in the remote Death Valley in this cave. Kind of cool. It's the only place where this species has ever been observed is in Death Valley, in this water-filled cavern. And so this pupfish, the Devil's Hole pupfish, is critically endangered. It's an inch long. It's metallic blue colored. And they call it the Devil's Hole pupfish because of the way it acts. It likes to play and frolic in the water where it lives. It was added to the Death Valley National Monument, the site, by President Harry Truman when this cave was discovered in 1952. But This species that lives in this water has experienced a steep decline since the 90s. Scientists then counted between 200 and 250 of them. And their numbers came down and down and down until 2013. They only counted 35. So critically endangered, right? The experts couldn't figure out what was happening to them, why the numbers were declining so much. But they think maybe it has to do with local ranchers siphoning the groundwater in the desert there and maybe lowering the water level in the cavern. They don't know. But they banned the ranchers from doing this, and they called the campaign Save the Pupfish. Other people said, kill the pupfish, we want the water. But the Supreme Court permanently protected the water level in that hole, and then the animals started coming back. So that's good. So they've increased security around the cavern. They've got a tall fence and cameras to discourage people from entering the pool, trying to protect these pupfish from intruders. So there's always the drunkards that get in. And apparently in 2016, there were a group of them that were drinking crystal rum and chasing rabbits through the desert with shotguns, taking aim at the cameras, surveillance cameras. And then they went into the hole, took their clothes off, started punching each other. What a mess. Anyway, they served a year in prison for violating the Endangered Species Act. This, in the last couple of years, 2022, the National Park Service has counted 175 Devil's Hole pupfish. So they're on the way back. This month, they think there's even more of them. So the scientists went down, they dove as deep as 100 feet in this cavern, and they counted 191. That's the most that they've observed in 25 years. So it's good. The pupfish are coming back. And I love that people are protecting them. The scientists with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service say it's really a very exciting thing to see this trend with them surviving and coming back like this in a variable population. Increasing numbers allow the managing agencies to consider research that might not have been possible in the past, when even just tampering with it a little bit with their habitat or with them had to be completely avoided in order to make sure that they would thrive, right? Now that there's more of them, then maybe they can look into what makes them tick. It's cool. I mean, imagine they're only at this one place in California. That's it. I have another picture to show you of he doesn't look quite as blue. He looks more blue in the photo that you're seeing there. In this picture, he doesn't look quite so blue, but it's still really cool to just see this creature that's so rare that only lives in this one spot. So take a look at this. There he is. There's the devil's hole pupfish. Only 191 counted. So happening in California. Animal segment this afternoon, sponsored by Joe Fong. Thank you so much for contributing to the After Party Live. You're so appreciated. I had a question come in yesterday along with a contribution, and I'm so appreciative of that. This was from Beth, and she writes, she kicks in $25 to the show, really, really nice, and says, when will you be remonetized on YouTube? So when the accounts all switched over, you have to wait 32 days. So I think our time is coming up. And then if you don't get it exactly right, unfortunately, they give you another 32 days. So hopefully we won't have that happen to us. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we'll be remonetized soon. But thank you to all the people who are contributing to the After Party Live. Please find the PayPal link on the show description here. You also find it on the About tab for the show as well. Okay, I have a video to show you. Again, thank you to Joe Fong for supporting us and for sponsoring our animal segment today. So let's talk about cats. Have you ever thought about shipping your cat somewhere? Like loading it up in a box and sending it through the post office? No? Yeah, not a good idea. But apparently, that's what these folks did, and perhaps it was an accident. I don't know how you make this, how you do this.
Come on, kitty.
Galena is a little timid,
She's a hider.
It's a game she plays.
Yeah.
and she has a guilty pleasure.
She loves to play in boxes. It's just like part of her personality.
But it took her a little too far from home.
That was the worst part. We just had no idea what happened.
2 weeks ago, Galena vanished.
She just mysteriously disappeared. We had absolutely no idea what happened to her.
Carrie and Matt Clark spent hours looking for a sign of their beloved cat.
We put tons of flyers up. We contacted friends and family to help us search. We searched for a whole week.
But when it seemed all was lost,
And then we got the most amazing, insane news in the entire world.
a phone call. Galena's microchip was detected 650 miles away near Riverside, California.
I just couldn't even believe that she was in California. I thought it was a prank. Like I still hard to wrap my brain around.
Turns out, Galena made her way to California via Amazon.
She was trapped in an Amazon package.
The Clarks were returning some shoes in this box.
And it was in this really big sized Amazon package.
Galena managed to go undetected.
We had no idea. So Matt took her to took the
UPS drop-off.
package to the drop off without knowing that our dear cat was inside.
She was discovered by Amazon employee Brandy, who took her under her care until the family could be reunited.
And we are so thankful for Brandy and for everything that she did for our kitty.
Galena went 6 days without food or water in the box. The Clarks say her recovery has been nothing short of miraculous.
Like it was just the best because I know that under other circumstances that she wouldn't have been found. We're just so happy to have her again. Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine? I can't. I mean, you would think.
If you think adjusting
my
a
apologies.
giraffe's neck would be
You
a
would-
pain in the neck.
You would think that there would have been some movement in the box, right? Or some thumping, or some bumping, or some meowing. How this cat managed to go from Utah to California and survive it? Incredible. I can't believe this story. I mean, I would like to think that I would have been a little more aware. I don't know. I don't know. Teacher Lori says, don't understand why they didn't notice sooner that their cat was missing. And she could see her cat doing this, but I don't leave the house without seeing both cats. Yeah, laying eyes on them, right? That's what I'm thinking, Murphy. How would you not know when you picked up the box? I mean, because it's not like a stationary object inside. The weight is shifting in the box as the cat moves. One would think. I'm with you. I don't know. I don't get how that works out. Yeah, no is right. I don't know how Mama says, didn't they used to ship babies in the olden days too? Lord help us. I don't know. Mindy says the husband was completely oblivious to the cry of the cat in the box. Wild. I don't get it. Wes says, if I went through an Amazon warehouse at their loud places, never much silence. So maybe in the Amazon warehouse, I could see how that would go undetected. Can you imagine being the person that opens that box? There's this hungry, pissed off cat, right? And what if it just leaps out and gets away? They're lucky they have their cat back. Yeah. Sandy says, yeah, it's a little hard to believe. Also, if they thought they were shipping shoes, a cat weighs more than shoes, doesn't it? I don't know. Shoebox? Cat? Maybe it was a heavy pair of tennis shoes? Or boots? I don't know. You would think. I mean, there's so much about the story that begs the question, like, what is going on with you people? I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. Mindy says, does the husband love the cat as much as the wife? Maybe he doesn't like the cat. Maybe he saw it in there and just would tape up the box. No, I would think that would be horrible. Yeah, Jim says, yeah, these distribution centers are really, really noisy. It's true. I'm surprised that animal survived. It's just a wild story. I'll tell you what. Huge thank you. I just saw Wes kick in $10 to the After Party Live. Honestly, you guys, couldn't do this without you, and thank you for crowdfunding the show and for all the support that you always offer. Speaking though of animals, back into it, what about this story? Can you believe this guy? This is a wildlife photographer, and he was taking a little nap. His name is Dolph. A little snooze. It was a sunny day. And so he found a little bit of shade and underneath a tree and decided that he was going to take a little break from the sun, take a little rest. And as he slept, this cheetah named Eden, this is at a sanctuary, by the way, approached him, settled down next to him for this nap. Look at the cheetah's head on his arm. It's sweet, but also incredibly frightening. The slight nudges from Eden eventually woke Dolph up, who was stunned but delighted, he says, by the trust and affection shown by this majestic animal. I mean, I love them. I think this is fantastic, but I kind of like them from afar. I don't necessarily know that I would want to nap with one. Maybe if you're a thrill seeker, I don't know. Here's the moment where he wakes up and he looks over and he's like, whoa, what is even happening right here? Is that crazy? Yeah. So I guess Dolph wasn't that freaked out about it. He is often called the cheetah charmer, so he's used to these creatures. And he said it's a reminder, this nap with a cheetah, of why he dedicates his life to these creatures, so that he takes pictures and videos and shares that with people. And this moment, he said, this connection right here underscores what he called the urgency of beauty and wildlife conservation. It's beautiful. He's a wildlife photographer, but he also volunteers at the Cheetah Experience, and that's a sanctuary for this endangered species in South Africa. So that's where he was when he was doing this. It's really sweet. I mean, he definitely doesn't look scared. I think I would be, but you know, I guess the animals weren't scared of him either. As a matter of fact, he woke up and started petting this creature. So, you know, I mean, for you and I, it's a no, but for him, maybe they're like his cat. See, he wakes up, starts petting him. It's sweet. Until they bite your face off. I don't know. A healthy distance between wildlife and people, I think that's really important. Wes says, is he a Turon for sleeping in a wildlife sanctuary? Likely. Like, would you, if you knew there were wild animals roaming around and cheetahs, would you lay down under a tree and take a nap? Yeah, I don't think so. Huge thank you to Jim Slayton, who just pops in with an $11 basically super sticker via PayPal. Very much appreciated. You guys, honestly, so amazing. Sanctuary Animal says, Lori, they're used to people. So, yeah, I'm with Mama. I would boop my pants if I woke up to that. Wes says it's obviously happened before, and he planned it to be able to take this selfie. That's true, or else maybe someone took it for him? I don't know. Yeah. So he volunteered there, she said. So familiar with the animals, maybe not as stupid as it seems. I would argue that if you're asleep and you don't have your wits about you, and there are cheetahs roaming around, you put yourself at risk. That's what I would think. But the pictures are incredible. Maybe you're right, Wes. Maybe the whole thing was planned out. I don't know. So there's a girl that was telling her parents, there's a monster in my room. There's a monster in my bedroom. Parents are like, right. It turns out that maybe there really was a monster in the bedroom. What nightmares are made of. So this little girl is hearing this sound, And it turns out there is a hive of bees in the walls of her bedroom. Here's what it sounded like. See if I can play this for you. Look at all the bees. You can kind of see them there. Well, that was really quick. But you could kind of see all those bees swarming around the rooms of her bedroom, or the walls of her bedroom. So she calls it the monsters in her bedroom. I call it, oh my God, there are hundreds, if not thousands of bees in your kid's bedroom. 50,000 bees. This happened in North Carolina. This woman says she's blown away to discover a swarm of 50,000 honeybees in her 100-year-old house. Her toddler claimed she heard monsters in the wall. The bees were discovered behind the walls of her daughter's room. She captions this video that you just saw on YouTube, "What Nightmares Are Made Of." It shows an image from a thermal camera highlighting the hive behind the wall, then cuts to a shot of a gaping hole in the same wall where swarms of bees can now be seen crawling all over the woodwork. Crazy. 50,000 bees buzzing. Imagine that sound. Poor little girl. She said, "We noticed a couple bees when we were outside playing with the kids, and then as the days progressed, there were more, and there were more, and we thought, that's a little strange." She said the beehive looked almost like a man in the wall by the shape of it. The hive so large, it took up the entire wall space. So she said, "I would honestly rather have monsters in the wall than have 50,000 bees." No, that wasn't her. That was somebody commenting. So they were safely able to get rid of the bees by hiring a beekeeper who came out, took the bees. Day one, the beekeeper removes 20,000 of these bees, 100 or more pounds of them, of a honeycomb from the wall as well. He said he found the queen and was able to safely take the hive to a new home. The beekeeper had to open up the wall to extract these bees. They didn't have time to get the daughter's stuff out of the room, nothing. And so people were asking, why didn't you notice this? Like, why didn't you get it? And the beekeeper said it only takes a couple of bees and a swarm that you might not be able to see to become this colony that's 50,000 bees. Even the beekeeper didn't realize how many bees were in the wall at first. So wild. They're trying to get back to normal. That is, though, not the only bee story that we have for you today on the After Party Live. Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. We also have a story about, what is this? It's not the hot dog story. This is a story about a bee swarm. Hold on. I'm clicking to the right place. About another bee swarm. This one at the Dodgers Diamondbacks game. So this happened, an insect invasion, they call it, on Tuesday at Chase Field, causing a 2-hour game delay before the Diamondbacks ended up beating the Dodgers 4-3. They had to call a bee expert. Bees were surrounding their queen in this cluster about 15 minutes before the game was set to begin. So they had to call in Matt Hilton, bee expert, a branch manager at the local Blue Sky Pest Control office. He comes out. He says there's a lot of pressure now to get this game going, but he said, I was happy to come out and take care of it. He was at his son's t-ball game when he was called out to the baseball game. He put on his beekeeper outfit and he used a scissor lift to ride under the bee swarm. They got close, used a non-pesticide spray on the swarm, vacuumed up the bees, and took them away. The crowd was chanting MVP for him. And as a matter of fact, they were playing the Beatles' Let It Be, get it? And Bonnie Tyler's Holding Out for a Hero through the stadium as he was getting rid of the bees. So still in his bee outfit then, he takes the mound and he throws the ceremonial first pitch. He said, I didn't feel very prepared for all this to happen. He said, I'm not the best thrower in the world, and it definitely wasn't a strike. The issue here is he said there was a really, really big chance or big possibility that these were Africanized honeybees, killer bees. He said these bees might have turned aggressive if they were agitated by the movement of the net where they were. So he took them out of the stadium and he set them free somewhere off site, and that was that. So here he is. I have a video of him throwing out the first pitch. I love that they celebrated the pest control guy, the beekeeper guy. Here he is. And there it goes. Right on. It's funny that he still wore his beekeeper outfit. I would be afraid of getting demonetized for that, but since I'm already demonetized, I guess it doesn't really matter. Oh no. Let's move to this story about have you heard about the cheese drama at the cheese competition? There's this cheese place in Berkeley. I think we've talked about it before on the Mark Thompson show. And they make vegan cheese. And their cheese was named one of the finalists in this cheese competition. Now, apparently that doesn't sit well with the traditional cheese makers who don't necessarily want them to be involved in a cheese competition, as perhaps they don't consider it to be real cheese, right? But that's not all that happened here. So the article in SF Gate says the cheese world is in turmoil. This Berkeley vegan cheese company disqualified from this food competition, the Good Food Awards. The judges of this San Francisco-based Good Food Awards so impressed by the plant-based blue cheese made by Climax that they named the product one of the finalists in January, even though it had to go up against traditional dairy cheeses. And Climax was thought to, they were going to win this award. I mean, their cheese was really, really good. That according to the CEO, right, of Climax. He said they'd been instructed to keep the information confidential until the awards ceremony, that they were going to be the first plant-based cheesemaker to ever secure this type of award. So they think they're going to win big, and all of a sudden last week they are disqualified. Someone called the foundation that puts on the Good Food Awards and said that there was a disqualifying issue, that the Climax uses an ingredient called kokum butter, Kokum, and that hasn't been designated as a GRAS, which is generally regarded as safe, GRAS, by the FDA. But they said we didn't use that. We actually use cocoa butter. That's the version that we submitted to the award ceremony, or to the Good Food Awards. And by the way, the Good Food Awards didn't require the GRAS, the generally regarded as safe, certification for all the ingredients when all of the products were submitted for this contest. They added that rule later on, and they never reached out to Climax to tell them that there was a new requirement. So, drama, very drama. Climax says it would have been really easy for them to just tell us, listen, we changed the rules just so you know, everything has to be GRAS. But they changed the rule a week before the event. And did they do it because they didn't want a vegan cheese company to win? Another problem. The Climax blue cheese was apparently not ready for retail sale, which is a requirement for being part of this whole competition. But the company says that's not true. It is ready for retail sale. As a matter of fact, it's already in more than a dozen restaurants in California and Las Vegas and even in New York. but the fact that this vegan cheese was a finalist for the Good Food Awards, among the traditional cheesemakers, it's brought up a lot of controversy for them. One of the real cheese, like the real cheesemakers from Vermont, referred to vegan cheese products as disconnected from nature and fraudulent cheese. Oh no, fraudulent cheese. Whatever. Listen, if the cheese is good, I don't care whether it has dairy milk in it or not. If the cheese is good, the cheese is good, and it shouldn't matter whether it's vegan cheese or fraudulent cheese or whatever. You don't change the rules a week before the competition. Come on now. So, Climax Cheese CEO says, we don't want to antagonize anyone. We see the dairy companies wanting to empower consumers. We want them to have more choices. And he said, we hope the Good Food Awards will do the same. But it seems like Climax kind of got squeezed out of the running for this. That's not cool. I don't think you change the rules right before the competition. And they were told that they were likely going to win this thing and to keep it quiet. So I don't know. I don't think it's fair. I think that the fake cheese folks got stiffed. I have another video to show you. I guess if you're on the moon, you have a problem because of gravity and the conditions there, people tend to lose muscle mass. And so now they've developed this way for astronauts to get exercise despite gravity. And the researchers say they could run around what they're calling a wall of death. The researchers are saying this cylinder shape could prevent astronauts from losing muscle mass in a low gravity kind of environment. So here's what it looks like training on the wall of death. So you're strapped into this crane and you're running around a wall in this different type of way of exercising. And because you're moving in this way and because you're kind of hanging like this, it's one of the first ways they found that would allow people to exercise when they're on the moon. And so maybe if you could exercise then, you wouldn't lose the muscle mass or what have you. You could stay there for a little bit longer. You wouldn't have to suffer as much when you get back to Earth, right? That according to The Guardian. So I thought that was kind of interesting because they've been thinking about all of these ways to work out when you're on the moon. And some of the thoughts about how to get this done were really, really expensive. But in order to prevent these astronauts from becoming weak or feeble while they're up there, they think this would work. Running around a lunar wall of death. So what you just saw there was a giant wooden cylinder, and it's usually used by motorcycle stunt performers, but they co-opted it and used it for this, to perform this feat where they put you up on a crane, they hang some bungee cords from the crane, and then they show that it's possible for a human to run fast enough in lunar gravity, not only to remain on that wall, but to generate enough lateral force to fight bone and muscle wasting. And physiology professors are like, it's amazing no one had this idea before. It could be a really convenient way to train on the moon, and easier than building what they had thought of was a spinning moon base that generates the force, like the giant wheel of Space Station 1 in 2001: A Space Odyssey. So, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of challenges when you think about going to the moon, but they tested this idea. They had the two researchers you saw there running around this wall of death, attached to the bungee cord suspended from the crane. The suspension allowed them to kind of mimic lunar gravity by taking 5/6 off their body weight to do this. So combined with the treadmill data, the scientists said running for a couple minutes at the start and the end of every day could generate enough lateral force or artificial gravity to keep the bones and muscles strong and maintain good nervous system control. So would they take the wall of death with them? No. Rather than transporting an actual wall of death to the moon, the astronauts could be housed in circular habitats, allowing them to run around the walls of their off-world homes. That according to the Royal Society Open Science. And they're just planning for the day that we colonize the moon, get this all done. I don't know. Hey, as long as they keep coming up with these great ideas, I think that's wonderful. There has been a new record set, and this is for the largest model of an aircraft carrier. And here's what it looks like. Oh, no, that's cheese. Sorry, it's not cheese, it's this. There it is. Yes, the largest model of an aircraft carrier to date. And you better believe it, it's a Guinness World Record. Interesting looking. The man who's behind this is a British YouTube engineering channel host. His name is James Walmsley, and he's built the world's biggest remote-controlled aircraft carrier model. He managed to land 2 remote-controlled model planes on this. It's a 16.46-foot model carrier. So that's another world record, right? I guess. He's got more than one now. Took him more than 3 months to build it. It's made from wood, foam, and fiberglass. Expanding foam used to make it waterproof. Once it was built, he then had to learn how to top fly the remote-controlled planes, and after several failed attempts to land on the carrier, he had to modify the planes. He said to have this idea and then to actually make it work was incredible. Then he added first-person view cameras to the model aircraft to be able to better see during the landings. The model planes he used were modified, ready-to-fly models. This is all done at the Rudyard Lake in Stratfordshire. One of the model planes crashed into the water during testing. But, he had several attempts. That's all right. This is not, by the way, his first Guinness World Record. Mr. Walmsley already had the previous Guinness World Record for the fastest remote-controlled jet-powered car, which hit 94.76 miles per hour. So he's no stranger to doing these things. And now he's got this record too. Oh, some people, they just love the world records. Why not? I have a lotto story of the day. And I think a lot of us can relate to this one, because who doesn't, when you talk about the lottery, you think about, well, what a big dream. It's all a bunch of daydreaming, right? Well, maybe we need to pay more attention to the dreams. That's what I'm saying. Because this person won the lottery after dreaming about the lottery. Yeah. This North Carolina man says it was his sister's dream that foretold of this lottery jackpot. His sister has a dream that he encountered riches. In her dream, he found a bunch of gold. And he said, I guess dreams really do come true. So after she has the dream, he goes out and buys a $1 cash 5 ticket at a store in, I think it was, North Carolina. And he said, I was stunned. I bought this winning ticket. He goes, at first I saw the jackpot went back down to 100,000. So I knew someone hit it, but I had no idea it was me. He said he was screaming so much when he found out that it scared their cat. After taxes, he took home $598,000. He's going to donate some of it to his church, and he's going to pay some bills. Look at that. All because of a dream. Here's a story for you about Meat. Kim, what are you talking about, meat? Hey, I guess it's a day for meat. I have more video. This one is a New York Mets fan who was pelted with hot dogs. Yeah, I know. I know. The story, and he got kicked out of the stadium, by the way. The story goes that it was $1 hot dog night. All right? $1 hot dog night. And the New York Mets beat the Chicago Cubs in Queens. But I don't know. The Mets officials said they sold a stadium record $44,269 hot dogs during their dollar hot dog promotion. They sold about 2 hot dogs per fan at the stadium there. One of these fans had a custom t-shirt on, and he wrote on the back to keep track of his consumed hot dog and beer tally. The shirt said, "Bad day to be a glizzy," which I guess is a nickname for a hot dog. So then other fans start throwing hot dogs at him. The police come, security staff, and finally they take him out of the stadium. He managed to eat 9 hot dogs and drink 10 beers. So, and he was wearing a hot dog hat. So there, he has that going for him as well. I don't know. All right, I'm going to play you this video of him getting kicked out of the stadium. Here goes. Here goes nothing. Look at them all throwing the hot dogs at this guy. The hot dogs raining down. It doesn't stop. Yeah, he's creating quite a spectacle. I don't know if people are... Yeah, there he is. And here comes security. They're like, "You're out of here. You're going." No. You can't encourage people to throw hot dogs at you. So they lead him out of the stadium. Yeah. He's got to go. No. And there he goes, eating and eating and eating and eating. So, yeah. It doesn't last long before he's out of there. And that's the video. Things people do. Incredible. How about this story? I think this is really interesting. I had a teacher once that subscribed to this and would every day spend, I don't know, at least an hour handwriting an outline. It was a political science class on the board. And then students would come and we would have to re-handwrite the whole thing. I always thought, why wouldn't you just give us a handout with all this information on it instead of you writing it and then having us hand copy it? Well, it turns out that if you handwrite something, you're a lot more likely to actually remember it. Yeah, that's right. And so that's what scientists have discovered, that handwriting, writing things by hand, will really help you if you're trying to study, if you're trying to remember something, that this is all very beneficial. That keyboards still have a place, but if you really want to retain the information, you got to get a pen and you've got to write it down. So this is a new study that was just published in Frontiers in Psychology. They say whenever handwriting movements are included as a learning strategy, that more of the brain gets stimulated. And that results in the formation of more complex neural network connectivity, which means writing by hand, as opposed to typing things on a keyboard, helps you remember things and retain that information. The study done by researchers at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. And granted, the study sample was small. They had 36 students that wrote a variety of words at random, chosen at random from the game of Pictionary. And they either wrote it with a digital stylus or with a keyboard. And they were wearing 256 channel sensor arrays on their heads. The researchers were looking to figure out which involve more connectivity between the two sides of the brain. And that has been shown to correlate with learning and memory. So through this sample size, albeit a small one, the results revealed increased connectivity for handwriting over typewriting on your keyboard, suggesting that there's a really different cognitive process involved in these two different types of writing. So you would think writing, you're still thinking about the words, right? They're in your brain. You're still having to regurgitate them. You look at them, you read them, and then you're regurgitating that on your keyboard or on your piece of paper. But it matters which way you regurgitate those words. It really matters. And so I guess if you're trying to learn, they say it doesn't mean you should abandon your keyboard. It's just a different tool for a different type of job. So, if you know it, that you can take advantage of it. So if you're learning from something, if you read something you want to remember, take notes by writing it down. Even if you have one of those e-ink tablets, you don't have to use paper. You can write the words on a screen, but it's that action of writing the words that will get you to remember it. Because the study involved a tablet and a stylus. So it's the movement of writing by hand, not the lack of screens, that helps with the memory. So they say if the point of writing something down is to help you remember, take the notes by using handwriting. Not just taking notes in class. It applies even if you're not a student. So during meetings, right? If you have to be quick about things, then maybe you got to use a keyboard, right? Handwriting, they say, requires fine motor control over the fingers, and it forces students to pay attention to what they're doing. Typing, on the other hand, requires mechanical and repetitive movements that trade awareness for speed. So I thought that was really interesting. And you talk about the ways in which we learn. And I've mentioned this before, that in my kids' school district, every student is issued an iPad. And I love it because we live in a technological world where I think kids have to keep up with technology and learn things. When I have a tech problem, my kids can help fix it. It's a little embarrassing. I've become that. I remember my parents used to say, I'm having trouble with the remote control, right? Or they couldn't work the VCR. And I would walk in and I'd figure it out. I'd be like, old people. And now my kids are doing that to me. I guess I'm old people in this scenario would be the way it works. But it's true because they know, because they've had to use computers and iPads in their education. But I think even though that's happening, we can't forget about this connection between handwriting and learning. Really important. I'm going to the chat, see what you guys have to say. Teacher Lori says, if you do this and read it aloud to yourself as you do it, it gives 3 inputs: touch, seeing, and hearing. Obviously, in a classroom, reading aloud to yourself is problematic. This is the kind of thing where, sometimes they have lack of bodies in the classroom and they say, anyone can be a teacher, right? Just get yourself in there. If you like kids, you can make it happen. There is an education when you talk about the ways people learn and the ways to teach that are most beneficial, that people that have an education in education get. People like Teacher Lori, you put somebody like that in a classroom, you're going to have kids learning differently than if you just put somebody who's not credentialed in a classroom. It's a huge reason, I think, why we've got a real problem with the current state of education, the lack of teachers, the shortage, because you need people like Lori to get in there who really understand how kids learn. Yeah. Ren says writing in cursive helps brain development too. Josh says it makes sense to me, muscle memory and task. Absolutely. Gordon says, I wrote my shopping list and left it at home and came home with all the items on the list. Yay! Because you wrote it down. You got to remember it. You remembered it twice. Absolutely. Again, teacher Lori says, writing it helps cement it in the brain. I've said it for years. Different inputs establish new neural connections. Absolutely. Heather, I'm a sticky note menace. Keeping notes on my phone or computer is far less effective for me than using written Post-its. But I'm old, so you're not as old as me, Heather. You always have that going for you no matter what. It's true, though. I'll do this all the time. I'll send myself an email of stuff I want to remember. Do I ever go back and look at that email? Absolutely not. If I use a sticky note and it's right in front of me, then I've got it. So, yeah. I get to feel like an old granny. I still have a 10-year-old child, so it's funny because a lot of people my age do have grandchildren already. Their kids are just starting to have kids, and I've still got young kids, so I don't know. John says I went through engineering at UC Davis doing handwritten notes. Yeah, it's true. And that's what I think, teacher Lori, that kids that the schools that have gone completely paperless are doing a disservice. Yeah, unless you have that tablet, because there is that connection. So Gordon says I type on my laptop much more than writing on paper. I know some phones have the technology, and I know the iPad does, where you can actually take handwritten notes on your device. So I can too write faster than I can write faster than I can type on my phone. Yeah. And I'm not very accurate. I'm much more accurate on my keyboard on my computer than I am on my phone. If I try to text you on my phone, it's full of mistakes. Fat fingering the mistakes on my phone. So, did I miss something? My nephew, Mama says, once asked my sisters and I what school was like in the 1900s. Oh, that's funny. Technically not wrong, right? The 1980s, 1990s were in the 1900s. I don't know. Sandy says if any kid ever asks me about life in the 1900s, I'll tell him it was great because we got to do stuff on our own without helicopter parents breathing down our necks every waking moment. It's funny you mention that because they have this program in Petaluma City schools called ARIES. And if you're in junior high or high school, all of your grades are entered in this ARIES program or your lack of grades. So if you missed an assignment, it shows up as a red dot. So I can see everything Julia's doing. If that was me and my mom was looking at all the assignments that I, either didn't do well on or did well on or didn't turn in or whatever, I mean, I can't even imagine the hassling that I would have gotten. My poor kids. And I do. Every day I check it. And I'm like, why is there a red dot here? Huh. Looks like you only got 5 out of 10 on this one. God, I'm such a pain in the ass. I'm telling you. Heather says, being Gen X is pretty great in some ways. It's true. It's very true. Oh no. I'm so sorry, Grady, that you have a sick kiddo at home. I hope everybody feels better. Thanks for hanging out with us. Murphy says, rather than typing on my phone, I dictate everything. Saying it out loud is faster, and it seems to help me remember what I'm writing. So, lastly from Wes, I'm Gen X. I'm certain Ed McMahon delivered checks for Publishers Clearinghouse, but the internet says it never happened. We saw it happen, right, on the commercials? No, maybe we didn't. I don't know. All right, we'll end with a scientific story about this ancient farm practice that could help sustain humans on Mars. Yeah, that's what they say anyway. And it's interesting that we have to go back to the ways we used to farm in order to, be successful in science and in space. It's fascinating to me. We think we've had such innovation, that we've had so many new developments, and it turns out the way things used to be done might not be so bad after all. It's this ancient agricultural technique could, they say, increase yields of some plants on the red planet. Whenever I say planet, it makes me think of the open for It's the Planet, Stupid. I'm very passionate about the planet. I don't know why. I can't help it. So NASA has big plans for space farms. And there's a field of study called astrobiology. That's cool. Astrobiologists are looking for what are the best crops to grow on Mars, right? The best that you could optimize future extraterrestrial farms. They're looking at methods to make the biggest crop yields on the red planet. So they've done these experiments with tomatoes, carrots, and pea plants. And what they found is growing different crops all mixed together could increase the yields of some plants in certain Martian conditions. The findings with the Mars studies on plants could actually have implications for the way we're doing things on Earth. This all published in today's journal of PLOS One. So astrobiologists, I just love that, they think that in order for future humans to survive on Mars for long stretches at a time, nutritious food has to be essential. So they grew potatoes in this. Remember the film The Martian with Matt Damon was in that, right? He played astronaut Mark Watney, and he grew potatoes in this movie. Real astronauts, they say, should have helpful resources from planet Earth for growing food if there were to be a settlement on Mars. So to do this, they tried to simulate conditions of Mars here. Their atmosphere is about 100 times thinner than the Earth's. It's mostly made up of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and argon gases. And in the future, if we ever make it there, colonies would need to be set up in controlled enclosures like greenhouses here on Earth with the right mix of oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. The best Martian environment is a simple greenhouse with a controlled condition like temperature, humidity, and gases. So the study had the team using greenhouses at a university in the Netherlands, the Wageningen University and Research. And they simulated the growing environment that would be on Mars, testing how crops fare in a simulated version of Martian regolith, the loose rocky material that covers the planet there. They had pots of standard potting soil and sand used as control groups, bits of organic earth soil and other nutrients added to the sand, and Martian regolith samples to improve water retention and root holding. They selected peas, carrots, and tomatoes. A study done a few years ago, 2014, found all three are able to grow in Martian regolith. And they were looking to answer the question about how to use companion plants and intercropping, which is this ancient planting technique, to grow two or more plants in close proximity to boost your yield. And they say these three, the carrots, the peas, the tomatoes, could have a really important nutritional role in our future. So I guess we better get used to eating them, right? They're high in antioxidants, vitamin C, beta-carotene, all nutrients that are completely lost in the process of food dehydration. It's the main process used to send food into space. So the production of fresh foods containing these nutrients is a must in a Martian colony. So there you go. Their research shows that this ancient technique could help sustain human life on Mars in the future. That's what we have to look forward to. We won't be here, I don't think, but I don't know. Other people will. We're doing the research for you now, our astrobiologists. Josh says, talk to the pot growers. They all know. Absolutely. All right. Huge thank you to Carol Salinger for a $25 contribution. Laura Winter, with a contribution. And again, Beth Farmer, who wants to know when the show will be remonetized here on YouTube. I don't have an exact answer, but I'm really hoping soon. Joe Fong, thank you for sponsoring our animal segment. Janet Walker, Donald, all of you guys, Wes contributing as well. So appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you. Please find us the show information on the PayPal link in the show description. And again, it's in the About tab if you're looking at the After Party Live. So huge thank you. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Oh, here's Jacob home from school. Oh, he just brought me a little flower. That's so sweet. Thanks, Jake. I love you too. I love all of you. I hope everyone has a really good day. Make it a good one, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.